it's time to actually do Next Fest stuff this time. I know I said I was gonna do Next Fest, and then I didn't because I was busy doing Archipelago stuff yesterday, as it went way over. But we're actually gonna do proper Next Fest stuff this time. Gonna go ahead and drop the link for what we're about to play right there. I'll be dropping it again when this segment is done. I'm not gonna hard lock these to an hour this time, though they are probably going to be focused around an hour. Like, if I'm not, like, super feeling it by the time we hit the hour mark, I will just jump to the next one so I can conveniently swap during ads. But this is Cathedral Crow's Curse. You may have seen me show a bit of one of the previous Cathedral games. In fact, I think the only previous Cathedral game? Once Upon a Time. It was a fairly good little Metroidvania, and this promises to be as good, if not better, and of course in the same vein. This is, of course, a Metroidvania again, as far as I could tell. You can, of course, get further details from that store page I provided to y'all. But before I ramble on too long, let's just get this on the go here. I'm gonna go ahead and use a different save slot, so the intro and everything will play properly. You have just arrived in Deep Forest. Somewhere within lies Alarian's refuge. An ancient temple untouched for centuries. It is said a sage of the first ones, a long-extinct race, slumbers within. You have to find the temple and awaken the sage. Break the curse. Stop the architect. Alright, that's all we got. That's all we need, right? Totally all we would need. Break a wall right off the bat with fancy crystals in it. Okay, all we've got to defend ourselves right now is this knife, but look how fast this attack rate is. Ridiculous. I'm very here for it. Press A twice to double jump, hold up near ledges to grab a hold, press A again to climb. So we just pop right up here and get another crystal. Can't wall jump or anything, so we're not going up that way. Looks like we're going down. Going down, down, down the hole. Breakable? Not breakable this time. It really does seem like they've tightened up their visuals a bit since Cathedral. Like, Cathedral looked fine, but it looked like it was designed for an older visual style. Like, just based on like an older game system or such. This is much more modern looking. Both are good, but just that's the difference I'm noticing. So press X for basic attacks, left bumper to block, left bumper just as the attack lands to parry, right stick click to lock on. Why would you need a lock on in a 2D game? That is interesting. Oh yeah, the parry seems to be an instant kill from what I tested of this, by the way. As you notice, I just hit him a couple times and the same animation plays. So basically, I don't know if the parries as things go along are just going to hit harder, or if they're just designed from the word go to be you can instantly destroy an enemy. Enemies react to sight, sound, and touch, but can be backstabbed if they haven't seen you. Sneak up close enough to hear their heartbeat. Okay, so the heartbeat's the signal. And you can tell I'm sneaking because things kind of fade out a little bit. Didn't even stab him, just broke his leg. You know what? Fair enough, it works. You can also see them blinking when you're close enough for it, so you don't need to listen for the heartbeat. Which is good. Because it means I can do it quicker than if I had to wait for the audio cue. Because the audio cue seems to be, like, ever so slightly delayed. Probably because they don't want to cue it before you're actually in range, so that makes sense. Stability. Some enemies block basic attacks. Parry to destabilize them and regain your own stability. Your stability drops when you take hits or block. Keep an eye on your meter. Left bumper just as attacks land, parry, then follow up with a critical hit. Hello, sir. Get parried, idiot. It does seem like there's a bit of forgiveness to the parrying, because you can just kind of mash it a little bit. Because I double tapped it, and it worked. You are now in a destabilized state. Many enemies will follow this up with an attack. Press left bumper, yep. Can't parry while I'm destabilized, though. I am botching miserably now. Okay, so they're just, like, straight up immune unless you parry them. Seems. Not entirely sure how I feel about that. Yes, I figured out healing game. Thank you. New quest, Ashes of Valerian. Alright. I've encountered an ancient temple hidden deep within the forest. Is this Valerian's fabled refuge? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. At the very least, it's a building. That's more than we have so far. Okay. Wait for them to burst, then stab them. And we can delay our double jumps, and it doesn't seem like there's fall damage, so we can mess about a fair bit, which is good information. Yeah, since I mentioned I wasn't going to be hard setting them this time around, since this, especially this session, is going to be focused on Metroidvanias, where they probably will need a decent amount of time to cook, I'm not really going to be running a timer. Yep. Map button. Okay, so you actively choose to rest, it seems, and then things reset. Okay. But it looked like I could still touch it and not have things reset. So, like, you can save without having to respawn things, basically. Which is nice. Okay, you shoot through the terrain. I was figuring it would hit the ground and I'd be safe. Boy, was I wrong. I suppose at least we don't have knockback to worry about from attacks like that, so we got that going for us. That piece found. I'm guessing that, like, added... Yeah, this added fog award out sections of map, basically. Okay. That's convenient. Parry and reflect. Some projectiles can be reflected back. Parry them by parrying and hit the projectile with X shortly afterwards to reflect it. Okay, so you have to do 2 steps. You gotta hit it out of the air and then send it back. That's neat, actually. I kind of appreciate that the parry isn't just a free reflect, because that is something a bunch of games with a parrying system like that have ended up doing, where it's just a free reflect. So far, this game feels fast, and I like that. Like, it's actually got a decent merger between the heavier combat of a Souls-like a little bit, but the faster movement of just a much smoother and more free Metroidvania type. Slide down walls and jump between them. Hold a direction and press A to jump. Which direction do I hold? Okay, it seems to be hold either direction. So you can hold toward the wall to try to single wall jump a bit better, or you could hold away to jump further away from the wall you're jumping from. That's gonna have some impact on it in a blessing and a curse way. But this was all just to get wall jump and loop back around to go up where we were before, it looks like. Which that makes sense, and that's fairly straightforward. I'm gonna go all the way back over here, though, and see what's up here before I go too far. Because we can travel from these things. Which, thank you for giving me fast travel immediately, developers. Thank you. Because while it's not necessary to have that early on, it is nice. Ah, permanently increased health. Nifty. Okay, you can't single wall jump more than once, though. The second you jump off the wall once, you are no longer allowed to jump off of that wall again. So we can't find out what's further up there, but I'm glad I turned around for that health extension. That seems like it will have been the best choice I could have made today. At least for this game. I don't think the flashing in this is going to be a problem, but in hindsight, I'm going to go ahead and just have the flashing light warning be on screen just as a general concept. I don't think too much of this has any real major flashing issues at all, but I'm just going to bet hedge with that since these are obviously like mostly sight unseen demos here. So at any point there could be a surprise. So I'm just going to have that as a protection in case we need it. Like I said, I don't think we're gonna need it, but it can't hurt. Strike and parry. Some enemies have more stability and can follow up with multiple attacks. Counter with a combination of multiple parries and melee attacks to win. Ooh, that could be really difficult, actually. I apparently didn't time that properly. Okay. The blue meter seems to be our stability, by the way. And I can just kind of hit and run this guy to death, I think. Rather than doing this the way they want me to, I could just kind of death by 1,000 strikes this guy, I would assume. I blocked all that, but I didn't parry any of it. God, this guy's windows either really suck or I'm just bad. Let's just go ahead and, you know, not die. Not dying seems like a good play here. It's like, it doesn't seem like the parry windows in this are super rough. Okay, yeah, the meter goes up whether you actually hit anything or not. That's something I didn't realize till now. Parrying has never been my strong suit, as we know. Some games I can parry well in, some I do a terrible job. This one, really feeling like terrible job territory. There we go. Yeah, I think he genuinely was immune to regular attacks. I think you had to parry him to kill him. Which I'm not sure how to feel about that. Like, I get it, you want to make sure people learn your system. But at the same time, you know, just let people do things. But again, this is also just a demo, so that might free up more in the actual game. It may be locked for the moment just to make sure people see the systems in action for the purpose of a demo, which I can understand that. But if it's just locked in general to some enemies can only be killed by parrying, that might be a no-go for me. Is like something being parrying focused? Sure, why not? Do things how you want. But if it's like the only way forward, that's something I have mixed feelings about on the nicest side. It's like, you'll notice that mushroom guy only died after I did the kill animation on him having broken his stability. So I think no matter how you go about it, you have to break their stability. Which is why you haven't really seen like health bars on things. Which, that's another thing. If it is going to be focused purely on their stability, it would be kind of nice to have some indication other than just waiting for that visual. So you know when you're getting closer to having their stability down, because you're just not getting much feedback without at least like a meter or something being visually there. So it really can be easy to feel like my attacks are doing nothing. And of course, you know, that could just be a me thing. These are my thoughts on the scenario, so of course, you know, even if something's just a me thing, I'm going to mention it. Like that one, it's after he bursts, he is vulnerable. So there are varying scenarios for it. So it makes a degree of sense in those cases for there not to be like an obvious meter or anything. Which, let me check the options before I say too much more there. No, there's nothing in the options, which that could easily be something that they put into the options in the future, though, as like an accessibility thing. Is some manner of indicator. Because, like, at the very least, there's a sound cue for when you get the parry right. Even if it doesn't always seem super obvious visually. So, the enemy being frozen tends to be a pretty safe indicator, hey, your parry worked. So that side of it I haven't really noticed an issue on. Artifact unlocked, loot magnet. Artifacts or upgrades you can toggle anytime. Spend void shards to strengthen them further. So loot's just pulled towards us and we can upgrade that. I presume to probably pull them from further. Or type deal. I have to jump from here, otherwise I can't get back. So you're pretty much guaranteed to get the loot magnet if you went over to this side. So I could definitely see people missing that because they just don't go down over here. Oh yeah, the ancient key probably opens the place we found, but I want to get to that potion. So I'm going to assume that's going to be more charges for my healing potion, and boy, do I need that. Considering the rate at which I'm sucking at this right now, I could really use that. So for the store page mentioning tight controls and everything, I don't 100% know if I agree with that. It does feel like not loose, but it's definitely in between. Is there like a hidden passage in here? No. I think you just aren't getting up there right now. Because my gut is telling me that the entrance to it is up here because of this little ledge sticking out. So I think I'm not getting that potion upgrade yet. We might get like a better wall climb or something later. Or a dash that would allow me to do more. Any of those would be options. You go in. Quest completed, Ashes of Alarian. Let me in, let me in, let me in, let me in. Looks like we got a quiver or something on our back as well. We just have no way of using it currently. Noticed it when he had turned around. New quest, Awaken the Shrine. Thankfully, we have a checkpoint. Yeah, to further the stability point, I could absolutely understand them not wanting to have like a bunch of meters and such on screen for like visual clutter reasons and such. I could absolutely understand that. And like stylistically, it may not match. So there's a lot of very fair reasons why something like that wouldn't be included. Just to finish that thought, because I had meant to say that at the time, but I was a little preoccupied, as you might imagine, with the whole not dying thing. Why didn't these torches light? Huh. Looks like we're gonna get something to interact with that panel on the floor there at some point. Like some manner of flame, or... I can't interact with this yet either. It almost looks like that's like a... you light that to turn that type deal because of the bowl on top of it. Huh. Or I need to activate the button up there, then I can activate the lever. Which, bear in mind, since our quest here is Awaken the Shrine, that's probably why a bunch of the torches aren't lighting, is because the systems in place in this shrine aren't active yet. So... Yep, I think I went the right way based on the torches and the save point. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume it's meant to be kind of dark for the time being. Oh, there we go. Quest completed, Awaken the Shrine. Okay, see, those guys especially make sense for them to be weak to parrying, because they have a central chest orb thing that once you parry them becomes vulnerable. That makes sense. We've got a red orb, which I assume go back up here will allow me to do a few things. I'm sure I was supposed to continue to the right, but I saw things I can interact with, and I'm figuring out interactions, so I'm gonna go do my own thing. I fucked up bad. First death. Okay, 10% of our stuff went away. Is that dropped on the ground, or is that just gone? Is that it? It appears to be just gone. So that's upsetting. But it makes sense. Yep, put orb in thing, and now platforms exist. Temporarily, huh? Okay. That allows us to get over here. Okay, I was gonna say, please tell me the flyers aren't also only killed by parries, because that would be ridiculous. Now then again, I can air parry, so you know what? There might be something to that. Barely barely made... Oh, nope, didn't make it. Okay, that's funny that I broke the crystal through the wall there. Like, the platforming is satisfying. It's just the combat that I'm a little on so far. I think it's just a little too particular for my taste. Cause see, that's the thing that messes with me. That enemy just dies when you attack it. Like, you attack it a few times and it dies. But there's not a guarantee visually which ones can be killed just by attacking, which ones can't. Is like the shield guy made sense. The spear guy with the plating around his crystal heart also made sense. The big guy, you could argue made sense, because he's a big enemy, but he also had no, like, serious indication, like, that he would only be vulnerable if a core or something was exposed. Like, you can make the argument of, like, well, you have to be able to have time to find a gap in his armor or something. And at that point, you know what, sure. It doesn't help that I don't know if it's just me, or if there's just, like, a tiny bit of flake to the timing, but I swear I'm hitting some of these and they're not working. That said, there's also no reason for me to be dealing with those guys, so nuts to it. I've so far not seen a compelling reason to use our crystals. Except for, you know, losing them to the constant onslaught here. But ironically enough, I feel like this might feel better if the attacks were slowed down a little bit and the focus on parrying was reduced. No, those guys just explode if you parry them. Okay, you know what? That at least is fun. Like, there's a certain satisfaction to that. Where the fuck did you come from? I looked away for a millisecond and a damn bug just shows up out of nowhere. I assume he was from the other part. Like, I have no problem, by the way, with the fact that they get a guaranteed hit when I lose poise. That makes sense. Is you have to screw up a lot, like I've been doing, to give away the stun state like that. So I consider that fair, even if it's not my thing. Need some kind of ranged attack to hit that. Like, some things you'll notice I can deflect and parry and do very well with, and some things I just cannot. I've got a decent handle on the charging guys now, but for some reason these spear attacks, I just really do not land the blocks on those very well at all. And I can't tell you what the difference is. I really have no idea. There has to be some factor that's making a difference there. I just cannot put my finger on it. I need to remember that my double jump is refreshed when I touch a wall. Really? You want to be that guy, huh? Fuck you. so lucky I hit the wrong button first. I do appreciate that when you deflect that, you don't have to, like, aim the deflection at all, either. As long as you get the deflect, it'll go where you need it to go. Like, that's the thing, is that this is a mix of very fun systems and systems I'm not sure are very fun. Like, I could probably catch those throws in the air or on the move, or... There we go, bow and arrow. Fire arrows to hit distant targets or trigger switches. Hold left trigger to aim, press X to shoot. It's still kind of weird to me that we already had the quiver, but I guess now we have the bow to go with the quiver. Or perhaps they just didn't want to worry about adding the quiver to the model for the demo, and he won't actually visibly have the quiver normally. Or maybe the quiver was empty, and it isn't now. There's a lot of options for how that could all be working. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I'm landing the parries and those things just have a lot more poise than I think they do. Okay, I can just shoot straight up. So that all looped around just to give you the bow and arrow. Like, this seems all very straightforward so far, and in a good way. Like, the navigation is just enough that you have options as to where to go, but also simple enough that you're not going to get lost. Huh. Oh, of course. Okay, no, you can just overwhelm them, because that time I didn't get the animation. I just beat the hell out of him. But I guess they just very heavily discourage you doing that, so things just take a lot of hits. That does, however, mean I can just do this, probably. Yep, I can just do that. Or when I'm, you know... Ah! Now, hold on there. I got a problem with that one. Because maybe it's just me, but I heard the ping of me parrying that as I died. So, did they just reuse the sound effect? Or did I just get screwed? That's the fun question of the day right there. We still have the bow and everything, you'll notice, though, so that's why you lose the currency, is because you don't lose progress on death. Which, that's nice. But as I've talked about before, I go back and forth as to whether I like that. Like, maybe I'm just an old man, and I'm just very used to games kicking you back to checkpoints. That's bad. That right there, that's bad. Because he was dead and still hurt me. Like, just gonna cut off my previous thought to point out that that's not okay. But again, it's a demo, so a little bit of scuff here and there is understandable. But yeah, what I was gonna say is, I'm used to getting kicked back to checkpoints, so maybe that's where my tilt for that comes from. But something I've noticed is a lot of games that don't send you back to a previous save when you die and things like that use it as an excuse to make their game more difficult. And I think I would rather the game be a little simpler and fairer, but send you back to a checkpoint when you die. But again, that may just be a matter of because that's what I'm used to. So I'm willing to accept that as a reality, that it is just because of that. Is that at the end of the day, you're still getting sent back to that checkpoint position. Even in a game like this that just costs you some money and then sends you back to that room. But you do keep progress, so it's a weird situation. Like, it depends on which part you'd be more upset about. Losing the resources, but getting to keep the progress? Or would you rather lose everything? And that's the other side to that coin that I'm not 100% sure is exactly how I would actually feel about it. Is I don't really want to lose the progress either. So I end up being of two minds on that. But I feel like I'd be less likely to lose the progress if they were designed with that in mind because of, like I said, the fact that they probably would ease off on certain decisions as a result of you not having the benefit of not losing progress on death. I don't know. Without knowing the developers and knowing their minds, we do not know whether such a change would even do anything. Like, the checkpointing system could be completely altered and they might just keep things as they have them anyway, for example. I guess these guys just can't be snuck up on? Or be shooting them's giving that away, like they detect you but they don't turn around and act on it until you get closer type deal? I don't know. Still not sure what that deal is. Yeah, you ain't killing me when I deflect that time. Kind of figured this was a hole full of loot, considering it couldn't be a death pit with where it was positioned. Yeah, I don't know. I will perpetually be of two minds with a lot of game design things, because I've seen it work in either scenario in a way that I'm fine with. So I can't say either decision is inherently bad. I just can tell you which one I prefer, you know? Because we all have our preferences, and we're always going to have our preferences. Okay, so that's just a shortcut. Which, that's another thing that becomes a lot more prevalent, for the most part, in these games where you lose resources and go back without losing the progress. Is it's a way to let you get back to where you were. Okay, now we have a dash. I knew I was getting one at some point based on how this game was laid out. Okay, that's definitely you have to learn how to do your air dash properly to get across that section. Which it's not a difficult one by any means, as you saw there. But it's a teaching tool, though, because you have to learn the movement in a safe environment. Which is good. I always approve of, don't tell you how to do it, just show you a position where you have to learn to do the thing. Don't just punish the player immediately for failing to do the thing. Let them learn it in an environment that won't kill them first, and then thrust them into danger afterwards. That's the way. but also that's the way I learned all the time back in the day, so of course that's what I would suggest. Also, I think we have an extra thing flowing around now. I think the scarf was added, wasn't it? Or was that there before? I genuinely don't remember. I was not staring at our character model enough to really notice. There's a lot of artifacts. Magnet range and speed. Ooh, okay, you can increase them in value with this. Okay. Regain a portion of stability on each void shard. Regain health when picking up void shards. Okay, so this was way better to upgrade. I'm glad I checked. I wasn't going to, but then I thought about it some more. I'm like, at the very least for showing it off, I should look. And lo and behold, good things happened. Can I travel to ones that are not in this zone? Yes, I can. Okay. So I want to go back up here. Because now that I have that air dash, I think I can get to that potion bottle. And I want to verify that that's what I think that is. We also have the bow now. That's something else I want to check. Can you be defeated by just bow spam? So yes, you can break their stability with bow spam. Okay, you can't regain a wall jump off of an air dash, so that plan doesn't quite work. My clever scheme is not as clever as I thought it was. Just for getting up there, which is fine. So I think... I don't know, but I think... Yep, that's exactly what this was designed to do. And then this, yep, leads right up to it. Permanently increased by 1 bottle. I love it when I understand the assignment. Was that obvious? If you understand the way these are designed, yes. But you had to actually look at it and think about it a little bit for it to stand out enough of potentially. So I think that's fair play. Something they may want to take a look at is I'm noticing the CPU usage spiking when the map's open, which is fascinating. Like, something is having way too many things load or such when the map's open, so it's making everything very angry. Not like untenably angry, but just like interesting that it's going up that hard when specifically when the map's open. Is something important? No, that's just over there. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, this is one I'll probably pack in at the hour mark for when the ads swap around, because that just makes sense. Because we've seen a good amount of this, and we may very well be reaching the end of the demo by that point. I actually should have warped to that one down there. But let's get more of a feel for moving with the dash. Because the dash seems like something I should really get used to using. Okay, even when you're doing an interaction like that, you can be harmed. Worth keeping in mind. You can't cheese attacks by engaging iframes. Oh, is this just how I was supposed to get back out? No, this looks like somewhere new. Just indirectly somewhere new. I fucked up. That is, of course, the downside to the way that works, though, is you get plenty of times to sit there and think about what you've done wrong when you end up screwing up the parrying. And that can definitely end up being a situation where it just kind of feels bad. Like, I could 100% see a situation where that becomes frustrating to people. Oh, Hilarian's secret. Another bottle. Okay, you know what? That's starting to free up a lot more, because now that it's not just the one heal charge, that cleans up the situation a fair amount, because you have more room for error at that point. Because that's another thing to consider, is like, if it's only really nasty at the beginning, and they just expect you to learn, adapt, and get more tools to work around it, that's a bit fairer. It's just a danger of people may bounce off the game as a result of it. Okay, and that just looped me around. So that was just for another bottle, but I should have done that sooner. Because we could have done that as soon as we grabbed the crystal, because that was right next to where the crystal was. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20 and all that. Having the scarf made doing that a lot easier anyway. So there's a series of trade-offs in the logic behind all of that, so either or works. Crimson Fans. Oh, Crimson Fang. Backstabs and crit stabs will replenish a small amount of health. Yes, please. Ooh. Give. That also massively helps the health situation and also incentivizes you actually using the stealth mechanics the game has. And that was another thing I was going to point out, is it starts to make sense it working the way that it does, considering the character design. Like, with the hood, the knife, and everything, this is clearly a character that's not meant to be like a front-line bruiser fighter deal. Kind of like how the Thief games describe Garrett as not a hero and not a fighter, or etc. So it ends up making sense why he's just kind of rubbish in face-to-face combat. And you're actively discouraged from doing so. So it may be that once the main game exists, there will be more backing and reasoning why we have the struggles we do with some of the combat, and then it all again starts to work out. Is a narrative explanation for things like that also helps make it more acceptable. Like, obviously, acceptable is not necessarily the right wording for it, but palatable? Palatable might be a better word for it. I suppose the alternative phrasing would be easier to accept. Could also work just as well. Some of these I feel like are obvious secrets that I ended up missing. I'm just kind of going along because, like, this looks like it's probably a secret, for example. But it isn't. Oh, because it was already in here. This was a secret. Okay, never mind. The logic still tracks, then. Okay, those are solid enough for you to bonk your head on. Keep that in mind. God damn it. Sometimes I make choices that baffle me. As I question why I did the thing that I did. The answer is sometimes I'm stupid. Sometimes it's just that simple. Rest to get my thing back, because I don't know if resting is going to... if traveling will give me my stuff back. Brain. So there might be something here, because I can kind of see an area there. There's a potential breakable wall there. Yeah, so I'm not actually going to travel away yet. I was going to go back for that thing I saw immediately, but let's hit these ideas down here first. Yeah, because this was unreachable until we had a dash. Okay, that makes immediate sense. And this looks like a boss fight. Big golem. End of demo? End of demo. So you don't even get to have the boss fight. Okay, that's fine. Interesting that they show credits here. Instead of just a, hey, thank you for playing the demo. It actually just goes full credits roll scenario. But what it might be is that that this is like a prologue bit, and then they do the credit roll, and then the game will continue, and just for the demo you only get the prologue? That's possible. Yeah, that makes sense that it's a group doing the localization rather than any of the individuals. Because that would be a lot of localization work for a couple people to do. Because you'll notice most of the names there were like 4 people total. A couple of them doing multiple jobs. So all in all, this speaks to me quite well, and there's a lot of good potential here. Aside from, like I said, just the handful of small gripes I have. But if that's the end of the demo, that is mildly inconvenient timing. Just gotta see what it'll do now. Which is why I didn't just close it or skip out of this or anything. Earth to video game. Come in, video game. Ow. I pressed a button and ended up back here. Let's hop back in for a minute or two and just not go back over there. There may be a couple other secrets we missed, and I'll do that until the hour mark, I think. Okay, no, I did open this. Triple. There we go. Nice and easy. Yeah, because we had been up here already. Okay, no, it is that wall right there. So yeah, that was a secret. Okay. Not a very secret, but, you know. That is at least what it is, so we know how to recognize those. Not that it's particularly shocking how those are marked on the map. But that does mean I want to go check what that other one was. Okay, you can just melee those guys down as well. They're not like, oh yeah, you have to reflect their projectile to kill them, which is something I was concerned about because we had never been in a good position to try meleeing those. But the wall I wanted to check... That one we already were in. Was it... No. There's also that area up there, but that's where we came in, so that's not likely to be much of anything. There it is, over here. My best shot's gonna be to go here and then go up and around. I do appreciate that at least this game doesn't have contact damage. If it also had contact damage, this probably would have ended up in the no-go zone for me. Not even gonna deal with you. Miss my exit? I was on the wall that I needed to hit. There it is, right there. Okay, so I didn't need to be as high up as I was worried I needed to be. And it was just money. That's kind of what I thought, but I needed to know. It was gonna bother me. Anything else I left unturned here? Because that's the one I just said we had already been in. Which I kind of wish that marked off indented a bit better. Since we actually walk into this little section here. But that may also just be like, oh yeah, that gets cleaned up in the full game. Because that's a very minor thing. Of course, you know, situations like this is also a little weird. Because we clearly went in there because this is all Unfog of War as well. But again, probably gets cleaned up in full release type deal. We didn't go down in here, apparently. So let's take a quick swing there. I opened that clearly, but I didn't actually, like, follow through. No, I didn't open that. Switch down there that opens it, though. I just didn't... Oh, right, because I walked over here when I didn't have the crystal yet, and I just never walked back in there again. That makes sense. And that's another map piece. Which is... largely useless to us? Yeah, see, this is another weird scenario where it shows you that this has been cleared out. Oh, wait. No, we had that visible a moment ago. I think there's actually a glitch there. I think if you get the map piece after you've already been to a spot, I think the map piece actually messes up. I think is what's happening there. That is bizarre. Because that was definitely revealed territory before we picked up the map piece. And now this is lit up, for example. That's the only thing that's Fog of War at all other than up here, which is physically impossible, as far as I could tell. So yeah, we've cleaned out this demo pretty hard. And we're still not at the hour mark yet. I do kind of wish they would let you fight the big golem thing as the end of the demo instead of just the demo ending. But, you know, it is what it is. All in all, though, very, very solid demo. Just a couple things, like I had talked about before, that I think they should tighten up a little bit, but that, again, is just as much a me thing as it is a general game design thought, I would say. The link, again, is right here if you want to wishlist it. I'm going to go ahead and wishlist it myself, even though I'm kind of back and forth on it a little bit. I am still overall pleased. Is bear in mind, you can have mixed feelings from a demo, but still come out of it happy. It does seem like there's only like 5 key items, so this might not be that long a game. Like, there's lots of artifacts, so you might just end up getting the key items like very scattered apart. Because you'll also notice our bow and arrow and our scarf and everything don't count on this list. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Because our scarf and our bow are also not on this screen either. They're just like not listed at all, which is a little weird. That might be like an equipment screen that gets covered later. Oh, that's not good. Doesn't seem like it affected anything, so I'm not gonna worry about it right now, but that's a bad sign. I just got a warning from AMD saying like, hey, there's been a driver timeout, but everything's still capturing fine. The stream is still live. I don't know what they're on about. We're gonna go ahead and hop out of this since the ad is about to start and get the next game set up. Won't take long at all, of course, but it buys me extra time. Title updated. Go ahead and grab that text because it'll be easier. All of that. And get the game up.